Well, what is happening, DC fans and movie fans alike? Welcome back to the channel.
I'll
I
tell
am
you
Diao.
what's not happening is Blue Beetle's box office.
Oh, okay, all
Well,
right. You're already with the heat. You're already with the heat. All right, all right. I see how it is. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. I am Diao, and this is another edition of my live. And once again, I have taken over movie madness and entertainment for the evening. Today, you have a special show tonight. Very special show. I am joined once again by the madman himself from Movie Madness Entertainment, Mad Max. How are you doing, sir?
oh, I'm good. This is a different type of episode. This is where I'm taking the role as Dial, and Dial is taking the role as Joe because he loves this movie, and I'm flabbergasted. I don't understand, so I can't wait to hear. I'm just kidding, Dial.
Boy, yeah.
I can't believe you like this movie that much. Okay. Well,
I can't believe you dislike this movie.
I'm not going to do the review. This is going to be my review as an exclusive for you, for this debate.
Well, I appreciate you being the guest on my show. Help me with the views.
Yes,
always.
yes.
And please hit that like button, whether you're watching live on Movie Madness Entertainment or watching live on my channel. I am Dial. Please hit that thumbs up, hit the like button. And also, I'm on the road to 500 subscribers. So, for those of you who are fans of MME and you're not subscribed to my channel and you like what you're watching here, please go to my channel and subscribe. It'll be very much appreciative. My channel is in the link below.
He really deserves it. Please, it's on the replay. It's going to be in the description. His channel. Yeah. He deserves it. And lots of people deserve 500. But DL is one of the best here.
I appreciate it.
Consistent content. You know, I like the way you navigate all the collabs on YouTube. I like the way you give hot takes, but you're still very friendly. That's a hard thing to do. You manage it well. I appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
But you're wrong on this one. I don't know where this is coming from.
We're about to get into it. So, if you couldn't tell already, tonight we're going to be talking about the newest film of the DC DCU.
Is it?
I mean, it can be. It could be.
That's part of the problem, is it?
Yeah, we'll get into that as well. But we're talking about the newest DC film, Blue Beetle, in the full spoiler-ish discussion. Most specifically, it's going to be a debate.
Yes.
Between Mad Max and myself. Can already tell he's not a big fan of this movie. I am a fan of this movie. You know,
I want to be. I'll give it another shot when it comes out on Max. I'm not paying this even with my my AMC A list. I would not want to go see this in the theater again. I'd rather go see something else.
Dang, and I saw this twice because I want to give it some money, man. I know it's underperforming at the box office right now, so I'm trying to give it some help. I don't know, but. Anyway, we're gonna be debating back and forth. We talk about all the different points of this movie. We're gonna talk about stuff that we agree on and a lot of stuff that we disagree on. We'll see if we come to the middle on some stuff. We don't know. That's how this conversation is gonna go. So before we get started, let's look at the chat real quick. Of course, we got Figure Drawing from Movie Madness Entertainment. Glad you could be here. Good evening, gents. So this is a debate on whether Blue Beetle sucks or not. Pretty much. We got Zeke. What's up, my guy? Blue Beetle is good. End of discussion. See, somebody's on my side here.
Thank you, Zeke.
Glad you could be here. We got Jacob. What is up, my guy? Glad you could be here. But you know what? Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this debate and discussion of Blue Beetle. And as always, we have to remind the viewers out there, this is a spoiler-filled discussion. It's in the title. This is spoiler-filled. We're going to be talking about this movie as if you've already seen it. So if you have not seen Blue Beetle and you don't want to know anything about it, I recommend you go watch it in the theater and then come back and watch and listen to the replay. Max is probably going to be like, you can wait for it,
I would recommend this weekend because it's like a $4 weekend or something on Sunday or, there's a special going on, and I could recommend it for that amount, like discount price. Discount.
Sure.
for a discount price.
Fair enough. So, before we get into details about this, I guess I want to set up context. Before I went and saw this movie, what were my expectations going in? So, of course, it's no secret that the DCEU is a mess, a full-blown mess. We don't even have to go through all the history, back from Snyder. We have talked about it at nauseum on both of our channels.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as of late, as far as the comic book movie genre, it's a little rocky right now, to say the least. It's a little not doing so well, both on Marvel and DC's front. They're both kind of struggling to, reach expectations as far as box office. I mean, yes, there are some of the movies that we've enjoyed, but all around, just most of them have been underperforming. Most specifically, DC.
Yes.
All started back with a Black Adam.
Really more significantly than any other superhero bomb. Like, they're like fractions of what the others are.
Right. Yeah, it just, and we all thought, like, the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn directed Suicide Squad, we tried to give it the benefit of the doubt because it was another pandemic and, like, it was a day and date release and stuff like that. So we were thinking, okay, when Black Adam comes out with The Rock, we're going to start getting back on good footing, or hopefully it'll be a step in the right direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
That came out, didn't do very well. And then Shazam! Fury of the Gods came out, didn't do very well. The Flash, that was hyped up to be one of the best comic book films of the past few years, did really bad, did pretty bad. And as far as the critic rating, it wasn't like the overglowing success that they expected it to be. So part of it, people want to blame James Gunn because, before all these movies were able to come out, he officially announced his slate of DCU movies that he's going to work on after the DCU is gone. So at that point, a lot of people saying that many of the movie-going audience kind of lost interest in the remaining DCU movies because they're like, okay, since I guess these movies don't really matter anymore, I guess we don't need to watch these. We just got to wait for James Gunn's Superman Legacy, right? Why would we go and watch The Flash or Shazam or Aquaman or Blue Beetle if they don't matter in James Gunn's universe? So which I'm like, I'm going to be honest. As somebody who's excited for James Gunn's DCU, I feel like that was a mistake with him announcing his slate that early. I think he didn't want to. I think it was like, part of the conference call that Warner Bros. Discovery did, and he wanted to make investors happy and like want them to look forward about what's coming around the horizon. But it's just a lose situation with that. So yeah, it's very unfortunate because that's what I hear a lot of, that, with the Flash and Shazam and now this, it's like, it's hard for people to really care about it,
I would love everything for James Gunn's slate to actually come to fruition, but I got a lot of hate just saying, why is everyone so excited now? Look at all the stuff they canceled before. I don't know how. Yeah, you want to get people excited, but I just don't see how all this is going to happen unless Superman Legacy is just like a monumental moment like Barbie or something.
Which I don't think anybody really expected that to happen.
Yeah,
but it's a shame because, like, why can't we go back to the days where we just enjoy a movie on its own? It's like always worried about it setting up to other things.
Well, the industry did it itself, though. I think that's what got it the biggest money was the Infinity War Endgame is all connected and everything matters, and then people slowly realize it doesn't. And I like Captain Marvel, but people, even with that marketing, they the tease where she's on the on Fury's pager, and she wasn't that pivotal to the whole story, and people start to get on. This is just they're just selling us something that's not really there.
Yeah, and it's like, I think we all could agree, even for people that like Captain Marvel, the only reason it made $1 billion because it was riding on the momentum of Avengers Endgame. And I don't think a lot of people are expecting the Marvels to come out and make the same amount of money or anywhere close to that.
No.
So it's unfortunate. But regardless of that, I know people are upset about the state of DC right now, and everything's not very clear, and it seems like James Gunn is being very mysterious about what is what is canon and what is not, what's going to be what's going to be transitioning to his DCU and what's he's going to cut out. And I honestly feel he's not being clear about it because he has to play ball with the studio. Like they want people to go see these remaining DC movies, regardless if James Gunn is going to continue with these.
Tell you the truth. They can't tell you the truth, right?
Yeah. So I feel like once Aquaman is out, I think James Gunn will start to become more straightforward about what's going on in his universe. But right now, I don't think he could just full out say it right now. So going to this movie, Blue Beetle, I did not expect for them to make a Blue Beetle movie, like in my lifetime, really. This is a character that I never thought would even get a live action film. I am a fan of Blue Beetle. He's not like one of my favorite DC characters, but like I do enjoy him well enough. I like both versions of the character. I like Ted Kord and I like Jaime Reyes. I think they both bring a unique sensibility to the Blue Beetle mantle in their own different ways. I especially like that with Jaime Reyes that like they brought some more Hispanic representation to the comic book genre. I haven't really read a lot of his comics, really. I'm like generally familiar with his source material, but not like super expert on it. And of course, I started to appreciate his character more with his appearances on Batman: The Brave and the Bold and Young Justice. I think that's where a lot of people found out about him. But if I ever thought about Blue Beetle being in live action, one of my like fan castings for Blue Beetle for the longest time was I'm gonna mispronounce his name and I'm so sorry. I'm probably gonna do it many times. Xolo Mariduena. He has been my fan cast for years. I watched him on Cobra Kai, and I think he's great. He's one of my favorite characters in Cobra Kai. But yeah, I never thought that Warner Brothers would actually get him to play Blue Beetle. It's like they literally read my mind and was like, let's cast him. And I was so excited when he was casted. I forgot like how long ago he was casted as Blue Beetle. I think it was like a couple years ago or something like that. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But I was really excited for that. At first, this movie was actually going to be a Max exclusive. Yeah. It's going to be a streaming movie. But the studio had so much confidence in this. They were like, you know what? Let's put this in a theatrical release. And so that gave me a lot of optimism that they thought this was good enough to be in theaters. So I was actually looking forward to it. Unfortunate though, I think it was wrong place, wrong time, because as we talked about earlier, with all the previous DC movies coming out and them underperforming, it didn't really give a lot of momentum to Blue Beetle, and it's a shame because like I've been wanting them to expand on the DC lore outside of the main three that we already know: Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And it feels like they were starting to with some of these characters, and it's just like I just want Blue Beetle to have enough of a chance for people to like actually know about him and actually want to go see this. I know this is a character that most people don't know about, but I'm just hoping that people will give it a chance regardless of like what the state of DC is right now. And I'm hoping that it won't rely so much on the bigger scope of the universe. I'm hoping that it'll tell a self-contained story, because that's one of my other issues with comic book movies in general, is that they have to set up to other things, or it's like they have to do Easter eggs. It doesn't feel like its own movie. But that's one of the things I'm hoping. Because another thing that we heard about from James Gunn, that once again, it's one of these things that he wasn't 100% clear about, but he said that Xolo's portrayal as Blue Beetle is going to be a character in his new DCU, but he's saying that the canon of the movie won't necessarily be part of the DCU, which was kind of confusing. I
think he's kind of confused on it too. He's not sure yet.
Honestly, I think that's just like a way of saying like we'll see how this movie is received, and we'll determine how much we want to keep from this movie. But we know for sure that we like Zolo as Blue Beetle, so most likely we will keep him regardless of all the other stuff that doesn't work with the film. So I don't know. It is just confusing because they say that Superman Legacy is officially the first movie of the new DCU, but saying that Zolo's Blue Beetle is technically the first DC character of the DCU. So I'm like, huh, okay, sure. But regardless of that, the trailers for this movie look pretty good. It looked entertaining. I liked how the suit looked. I'm glad that they actually put him in a practical suit. I was afraid it was going to be full CGI the entire time, but no, they actually put him in a practical suit, which I'm happy about. I like how it looked, and I like the neon feel of this movie. It felt very comic booky. It looked a lot of fun. It felt like they were putting an emphasis on the family aspect with Zolo's family.
Mhm.
And also seeing that Ted Kord's daughter, Jenny, is going to be in this. I'm looking forward to seeing how she's going to be incorporated in the film as well. So it looked like a fun time. I wasn't going into this expecting this to be a mind-blowing film. You know, I'm just hoping it will be a more coherent film than the previous movies that we've gotten. You know, and I'm hoping it's good enough that people will want to see more from this version of Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
So I'll start with mine, and then I'll let you go off.
Okay.
Overall, I like Blue Beetle. I thought it was good. I had a fun time. I'm not gonna lie. I think we both can agree that this movie is not groundbreaking at all. It's very straightforward, and you could say it's very by the books. There's a lot of familiar things from previous comic book movies. But personally, that didn't really bother me because I feel like there was a lot of heart. There was a lot of charm. You know, there was a lot of, charisma with this movie. There was enough to be like, I'm entertained by this and I'm invested in these characters, even though there's a lot of stuff that's familiar. This does feel like an amalgamation of Iron Man, Ant-Man, and Venom, pretty much. I felt familiar stuff from those movies. It felt like a mixture of those three, but I thought it was handled pretty well. I thought Zolo as Blue Beetle, I thought he was great. I really, really enjoyed him. I thought the strongest part of this movie was the family dynamic. I thought all the stuff with the family, I thought was really, really good. That's some of my favorite stuff with comic book movies nowadays, because that's one of the things that I loved about the Shazam movies, because there was an emphasis on family, and I'm glad that's in this movie as well. And I really liked Jenny Cord. I liked all the stuff that they were, all the stuff that they showed from, the previous version of Blue Beetle with Ted Kord. We saw his lair. We got to see his suits. We got to see his weaponry. So it's like, I like that they incorporated that, even though it's mainly Jaime's story. But I liked how we got a glimpse of both versions of Blue Beetle in this movie. So overall, I like this movie. I really don't see why people hate this film. Like, it's a fun time. Like I said, it's not great, but I definitely don't think this is bad. This is probably the most coherent movie compared to The Flash and Shazam and Black Adam, in my opinion, which I just probably will not say a lot for a lot of people, but I think for the most part, this didn't feel as messy as the previous movies. Even though I like the previous movies, I can acknowledge the previous three movies were a mess. But this one, I felt like it was the most focused. It does have its problems, which we'll get into, which we'll probably debate about, but I liked it. But overall, those are my thoughts on Blue Beetle. Let's go to you, Matt. Next, tell us your overall thoughts on Blue Beetle.
Well, I agree with the family dynamic, except it was just a layer of cheese that was just not comfortable, because it does everyone when I criticize this movie for the jokes not landing, but well, it's not a comedy. No, they were going for a joke, and most of the jokes for me felt off and forced, more so than Shazam, and that's saying a lot because Zachary Levi can be freaking cringe. I don't know if it's also potentially sometimes you go to a movie, you're not in the right mood. Maybe I'll see it again and it'll hit better, but everything just felt off. All the beats felt off. It could even have been as much as editing, editing. Sometimes you get a good editor that makes things land better in the a little bit faster cuts or something. I don't know. Even the score was off. I didn't feel the vibe they were going for. I like Zolo as Blue Beetle. I think he was serviceable. I thought he was okay. I was hoping to get a little bit more range from him than Cobra Kai, but it really felt he's almost some. I don't feel much range from him as an actor yet. Honestly, he looks like you want to root for him naturally because he seems like he's a really good person. He's always smiling. He's positive dude, but just there wasn't a lot there. Yes, the movie he turns into the things I like about the movie. When he actually turns into the Blue Beetle, I like that scene. I wish there was more of that. It was kind of almost like horror a little bit. That was kind of cool when he's up in the ceiling in his room. The action is legit. The special effects are decent. That is an improvement for a DC movie for sure. The villains were. If this had a better villain, maybe it would have all worked a little bit better too. A little bit better villain. Jenny Cord was great as well. I think that was one of the best parts of Zolo's performance, and maybe it might not be too hard to have chemistry with that actress. They did a good job there, Yeah. That was good. There was because a lot of these superhero movies, there's supposed to be some type of romantic relationship between two characters, and you don't feel it. You really felt like he wanted they wanted a relationship, and that could be built upon there. Mm-hmm. The grandmother stuff, oh my god. I know what they were going for, but that was really, really cringe to me. Not that she's not that's not that she's not capable of being a fighter. It's just the way she delivered the lines was so cheese. And I know what they were going for, but if you're not in it, if you're not rolling with it, it felt like, yes, you want kids to enjoy this movie, but it felt like they were going for really, really kids. In my opinion, the tone was too kiddie, too cheesy and too kiddie, whereas the best movies that are entertaining for younger people include adults. I kind of felt like some of this type of.
I think they still included adults.
No, I think it kind of sectioned off the adults, and it just was kiddie, too kiddie. In my opinion. Sorry, I'm not. I don't. That's just the way. That's just the vibe I was getting when I was watching it. And yes, the story is too similar to what we see before. Now expectations. I was hoping that we could maybe get like a DCU version like Spider-Man. Like, it's a different character, but he's not bit by a spider, but he's got a Blue Beetle that goes his back and becomes a superhero and deals with that. I know it's a different character, but I thought we could actually I had very high hopes for this character. I know about the character a little bit in animation, in the comics a little bit. And I think it's a very intriguing character. And I think it has potential, this character, to be a huge hit. I really do. But it just didn't land for me.
All right, then. Well, let the debate. What am I saying? Let the debate begin. In the great words of Michael Buffer.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right.
Okay, so where do I want to start with? Okay, so you said you had a specific issue with the family. I want to start there because I actually did really like the family in this movie. I liked them a lot. Did they have their annoying moments here and there? Yes, they did. But I still felt like they were a very supportive family. You felt like it was a really tight unit, and they were always supportive of each other. That's what I really liked about it. Even though they got on each other's nerves at times, you felt like there was a genuine love between everyone. even between Zolo and his sister, Milagro. I think that's her.
His
That's how
sister
you
was
say it.
cool. His
Yeah,
sister
I
was
like,
cool.
like the
George
sister.
Lopez, I'm a fan of George Lopez.
Uh-huh.
And it felt like he was trying too hard to just be a character and not genuinely act. And that might just be him not having, he's more of a comedian than an actor, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, he doesn't do characters that well, in my opinion. Like, I watched all of his recent show, Lopez versus Lopez. I think he's great in that. But it was really trying too hard, and it didn't seem organic.
I get what you're saying with that. I still thought he was pretty good. There definitely was a couple of like lines that felt a little too much. Like, okay, so please take this opinion with a grain of salt because I'm just a black guy. I'm not Hispanic at all, so I don't know how authentic the Mexican and Hispanic culture is. But like,
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a few lines in here where I did feel like it may be leaning towards a little bit of a stereotype, a little bit. If there's any Hispanic viewers out there that felt differently, please let me know. But I don't know. There was like a couple of lines where they were talking.
To be fair, and I'll be careful when saying this, it seems like when there's a project that's representative with the talent behind and directing and all that, things slide by and are applauded as representation. But if a different nationality director were to do it, it would seem very stereotypical and kind of offensive. I'm sorry. Sometimes there's that situation. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad people feel represented. I think there was great things in there. I'm really open to diversity and other cultures. Mm-hmm. And I know there's the argument that if you didn't like it, you didn't get it. Maybe you just don't understand. Maybe you're out of touch with the culture. I don't think that's fair at all because me personally, and a lot of general movie fans I think are really open to diversity and new experiences and new cultures. Like Black Panther and some of these other characters. I think it's there. I think we're ready to. I don't think that's a fair argument that if you have some issue with the way it is that maybe you just don't understand the culture. I think for a successful popcorn movie, because these superhero movies should be pop. Yeah, Shang-Chi is a perfect example. I loved Shang-Chi. There's a lot of stuff in there that I don't understand culturally, but it was presented in a way that's easily accessible to the audience and gets people on board. And Shang-Chi is like a staple, and no one knew about that character. Forget about it. I think he's a lesser known character than Blue Beetle, right? Mm-hmm. Before that movie came out.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So I think that's a prime example of where it's done well, and it includes the audience. Where more now, this in my particular viewpoint, it seems like you're just watching their culture instead of like being included in it. In my opinion.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that. I did appreciate that, like you. I did appreciate that we actually did get to see more, Hispanic representation because there's not a lot.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And I'm glad that we're finally getting like a big mainstream comic book movie that's Latino led. I think that's really, really cool. And once again, seeing the culture in this movie, like whether or not certain things did feel a little bit over the top with the stereotypes at times. I don't know. I can't even tell. But there are some parts where I did feel like it might have been. But like even then, just seeing the Hispanic culture in that, I thought was really refreshing. To see that because we don't see a lot of that. But yeah, going back to the family though. With George Lopez, another thing that probably slightly bothered me is it was cool that how tech savvy he was. But there were situations where I felt like, okay, that's a little convenient that how to work stuff in the Blue Beetle layer. You created this device that can hack security cameras. I'm like, how long have you been working on this? Where'd you learn all that? Um, Now, I appreciate that in this movie. One of the things I also liked is that the family was able to help with Blue Beetle. You know, they weren't just damsels in distress. They actually, they actually helped out with Jaime. I'm gonna call him by his character name, Jaime. I like that they actually were incorporated into the movie a lot more with helping Jaime, rescuing him and helping him fight. I liked all that. Um, Now you said you had a problem with the grandma, with her revolutionary background. I
I
actually
don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with I think that's interesting. I just think that that the way it was delivered fell short and was too cheesy.
mm,
Just the execution. That's. I have no problem with her I think that's interesting, and it makes
I mean, yeah. I think her kooky like stuff. I thought that gave her a little bit more personality. It made it a little more fun, I guess. Um, I don't know if we'll ever get sequels to this, but like if they do continue off of this, I would like for them to go more into her past because that's very fascinating that she knows all this stuff. Um, but yeah, I thought all that was pretty cool. Um, so what did you think about how'd you feel about the moment when his dad died? Did you think that was an effective scene?
Uh, I that part. That's also kind of like potentially like Uncle Ben for Peter.
Hmm.
It was starting to work for me there where it could really impact it, but it seemed like that story point seemed very heavy compared to it seemed the tonally completely different from the rest of the movie. Like that was, I don't want his father to pass. That's a very hard thing to deal with, but it just seemed really totally different than everything else going on, and that's something that I think could have been expanded more, and he dealt with more in the movie. Maybe if it happened a little bit earlier and really would have shaped the character more. And they dealt with it somewhat, but then I don't know. I have to revisit the end when that happened because I was shocked that they ever actually went there with that. That was actually interesting because a lot of superheroes, family tragedies shape their career as a superhero, and it actually creates superheroes. So I don't know how I that part I want to revisit. Like I think it was starting to do some. Think it was starting to put some things in place that could be really impactful to the character of Blue Beetle, but then shortly after it was kind of just moved on to the big spectacle, Whereas in like for example, Spider-Man, Uncle Ben or Aunt May, that really like Aunt May in the recent Spider-Man movie, it really impacts him for the whole rest of the film and really shapes him,
Yeah.
What do you feel about that, DL? Do you think the death was a very significant part of the movie where it impacted his character? I have to revisit it because I know they were dealt for a little bit, but then they shortly moved on.
Yeah, the way it was executed in that scene by itself, I thought it was done really really well. Just like the mourning from all the family, I thought it was a very sad moment. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't crying or anything, but I was like, that was one of the big emotional moments in the movie that like did hit me pretty well. I will say, I I wish we spent a little bit more time with the dad before he did die. I mean, we did have that one scene where he was like sitting outside talking about their purpose, which I thought that was good, but like I don't think we spent enough time with the dad. So like by the time he does die, while it's a sad scene, it's like it didn't it could have hit me harder like if we actually like saw more of like the connection with with Jaime and even maybe some of the other family members. I don't know. I mean, it did feel kind of telegraphed because they talked about him having a heart attack too. So it's like I kind of halfway expected him to die. Or
I actually think this is where this movie could have been a lot stronger if they really honed even really hard on if they knew that his father was gonna pass. They really have his father like really involved in his story. He was, and he had a few moments here and there. But if they were going to have that sacrifice, that could have really shaped this character. And I don't know how it is in the comics. Like I don't know if his father dies in the comics. I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but I think that could have been something that, if done a little bit more a little bit better of a storyteller director. Not that he's a bad director. Could have been really impactful and shaped this character.
Yeah, come to think of it, who is the director of this? Let me pull it up. Angel Manuel Soto. I haven't seen anything that he's done.
And you know what? It might not even be the director's fault because remember, just like you said at the beginning of this debate, this was originally going to be an HBO Max original.
Right.
And I do think you go into it with a different tone if it's going to, And I do also think because of the content on HBO Max, and when it was HBO Max and not HBO or Discovery, whatever it is now, Max, that you kind of want to reach out to a younger audience. So I really feel the development for a streamer and not for theatrical. I really felt that. I think it could have been approached. I think they would have approached it differently if it was been straight to theater the whole time.
Yeah. And like while watching this movie, while I do think the effects in the movie is really good for the most part, there are a couple of shots, a couple of environments where I could tell, I could tell this was originally supposed to be on a streaming service. And yeah, as far as the scope, like, I mean, not to say that this feels like small by any means, but it's like as far as like, I mean, I guess as far as scope, it does feel smaller than what we've usually been seeing from the previous DC movies, which I think is also at the same time kind of a breath of fresh air for me, because we've gotten so many end of the world stakes and like larger life things. So it's like it's nice to go back to that somewhat of an intimate story, with Blue Beetle again. To go back to the dad real quick, I do think like when Jaime sees him in like the afterlife, and then they talk about his purpose is to be the Blue Beetle and be a superhero. Wow, yes, it's a bit cliche. I still think like they still found a way to make his death matter, even though I still think we could have spent a little more time with him. So it's like not like it was, there was no point to it, I would say. But anyway, let us continue on. Let me talk about Jenny Cord. Jenny Cord. I thought she was great.
Yes,
I really liked her. Specifically, I love the chemistry that she has with Jaime. Some people may argue that like the romance that they had between the two was a bit rushed, and in a way, yeah, they could have spent a little more time developing that. But it's just like their chemistry is just so cute. It's so charming that it's like it didn't really bother me, and I like this is one of the things where it felt like it took some influence from Ant-Man, because once again it's a new generation taking on the mantle of a previous incarnation, like Hank Pym passing the mantle to Scott Lang. We're starting to see in a different way that like Ted Cord is going to be passing the torch to Jaime Reyes, and I think this is a very interesting way of them to incorporate both versions in this movie, having his daughter help Jaime with all the superhero-y stuff. And then I like that it did leave it open that we may possibly see the original Ted Cord in and I don't know if we ever get a sequel to this.
I don't think there's going to be a sequel, but I have to say the setup for the sequel is strong. That was one of the best parts of the movie. Like this was actually a very significant mid-credit sequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if you've heard the director talk about if they did do sequels, and if they brought back the original Ted Cord, that they were thinking about having Andy Sudeikis be
Yeah.
Ted Cord. How do you feel about that?
I think he can. If that's true, I think he is a good comedian that also does good characters, and he could be a magic part of the formula that takes the movie to another level. I just doubt it's going to happen now.
It is such a shame though, because like as you said, like the setup that they have for like this possible franchise is so good. Or I'm sorry, this is Jason Sudeikis, not Andy Sudeikis. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's just like the setup for a possible trilogy because the director said that he wanted a trilogy. Like I'm actually really interested to see where they could possibly go from here. And I mean, to be honest, I know James Gunn was saying all this stuff like, okay, Zolo's Blue Beetle is canon, but the movie isn't necessarily canon. I mean, I don't know. I don't know James Gunn's like full plan with his DCU, so he probably is thinking about going in a completely different direction. But like, I don't really see anything in here that he can't work with. Like it would be just a shame for him to throw everything away and just do something completely different and just leave Zolo, because like in my opinion, I think the family stuff is really good. I think Jenny is really good, and you could still bring a Ted Cord if they want to have him partner with Booster Gold. That's still a possibility.
Yeah, that might be where the path forward would go. That could take it to the next level too. Have Jason Sudeikis and Booster Gold introduced, where they who's the rumored Booster Gold that they keep saying?
I don't know. People keep saying Chris Pratt. I don't even know if that's true. But
that or Nathan Fillion, or no, Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion is Guy Gardner.
Oh, that's true. Okay. So it could work, especially if the rumors are true about Gunn's Batman the Brave and the Bold, and it being similar to like even the cartoon series too, that's not necessarily going to happen. There's lots of guest appearances from characters like Blue Beetle, like Booster Gold, like Guy Gardner in that series. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but it's that
Mm-hmm.
Even if there's not a direct sequel to Blue Beetle, if they introduce these other characters in his sphere, that might be a good thing for the character to continue.
Right, and
that's if we get that far.
If we get that far, but it's like, and another thing, like I said, like there's not really any references to the DCEU. Like for the most part, it stands on its own. I mean, yeah, do they reference Superman, the Flash, and Batman? Yes, but they never really talk about the events of the previous movies, really. And it's like, since James Gunn is already establishing that there are superheroes already around in this universe, I think it would perfectly fit into whatever he's going to do, But only time will tell. I think it's a shame if they get rid of the family and get rid of Jenny. I think that's a big mistake, but we'll see what happens, So let's talk about the villains. I think this is the one thing we'll agree on, is that they are probably the weakest point of this movie. But I didn't think that they were awful. They were just really by the numbers. Susan Sarandon is Victoria Cord. So she plays Ted Cord's sister that takes over the Cord Industries after Ted disappears, and very similar to Iron Man 1. Yes, I know people are thinking about it. Very similar to Iron Man 1. Mm-hmm. She's taken over the company and using that to create weapons, and that's not originally what Ted Cord wanted to do with his company. And so Jenny is fighting against her and trying to take ownership of his company. And of course, there's like a whole like family civil war with who's going to take over the industry or whatever. And then we have Victoria's right hand man, um, forget his name,
Yeah.
Carapax.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, it's kind of the typical henchman.
There's a missed opportunity there too. Not that the actor did bad based on what him, but
yeah.
they could have put a really interesting actor in there. I'm sorry, the guy's just not that interesting based on the storyline they were trying to tell. Like that he was. Maybe if we had a more appealing villain, or even a younger villain, too. Shh. Sorry, my dogs.
No,
A younger villain that can match up closer to his age, or maybe slightly older. Is my take. It could have been more impactful. Like this is what you could be if you're not careful about how you handle your new abilities. As a warning. I don't know. I have nothing against that guy actor Carapax. Susan Sarandon. I love Susan Sarandon. When they sign on for these movies, she probably doesn't know anything about this character or superhero movies, and you could just tell.
Yeah.
I just don't know why these big name actors sign on to these projects like this
for the money.
Yeah, and I don't know why they focus like Susan Sarandon for Blue Beetle. It's just weird.
And if she's actually a really good actress. I think they could have gave her more. Like we could have saw her relationship with Ted, before he disappeared. But they probably wanted to keep the reveal of Ted till the sequels because they probably didn't know at the time who they were going to cast as Ted. But like, I don't know. I did think there was a missed opportunity to give her more development because she is a Cord. So it's just like I just want to see that family animosity a little bit more. And then as far as Carapax, like I see what you're saying with wanting to get like a younger actor to to balance out with Jaime a little bit, but then I think that also would have leaned more towards like the younger audience type of thing that you were complaining about earlier, that it felt a little too childish. It would have been a little bit silly for me if it was just a kid versus kid in a suit. Like at least with an adult, there's a little bit more legitimacy and more of an intimidating presence with the actor playing Carapax. Once again, like there's teases of making his character more interesting because we saw the flashback with him losing his mother because of Cord Industries, and with what Victoria did. So it's like they tried to give a little bit of it, but once again, it just didn't give enough time to it. And like seeing that like he's all like he lost limbs and stuff like that because of the explosion and stuff like that. That could have been something really tragic. We could have dove more to his PTSD or something like that, since he used to be a former. Used to be in the army and stuff like that. Like that could have been something that they could have dove into a little bit more, but they don't really. I guess like we could talk about the suits a little bit more since we're talking about him. I do like his suit. I do think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah, it pretty much looks straight up like the comics. I know the first thing that people want to say, oh man, it's an Iron Man ripoff, but it's like, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. There's literally a scene where he's pointing his hands out like Iron Man does when he does his beams coming out of his
hands. This
hand.
even had some better action than the first Iron Man, honestly.
Actually, well, yeah, and there's even some stuff that kind of remind me of stuff from Iron Man 2, like with the webs and stuff like that. So yes, did it feel derivative of Iron Man? Sure, but like honestly, I mean, here's a hot take for people. I thought the action set pieces were done better than Iron Man 2. So if you're going to be derivative, at least do it as good or if not better.
I
and
don't
that's what
think
they
I
said.
don't think it's better. I just think there's more meat to the bone of the action scene. Like there was some cool stuff in Iron Man 2, and then the scenes were so short. Like I remember when Whiplash first entered the racing,
Yeah,
and then at the end it was really cool, and then it was over like that. It was just so quick.
that was one of the biggest problems of Iron Man 2. It's like they had a glimpse of the really good action scenes, but they don't go on for that long.
Mhm.
And you know what? I'll even say, like, even though I love Iron Man 1, here's the hot take, because one of my issues with it was like how they forced that Ironmonger Iron Man fight at the end. Like
Mhm.
the fights in here felt more earned than it was in like either of the Iron Man movies. I know I'm put Iron Man 3 in there too because I don't like Iron Man 3, but like I don't know, because I felt more invested in the fight because I was more invested in Jaime and the stuff with his family. So,
Oh my gosh.
and even to an extent, like even though the villains aren't that great in here, I felt like there was a little bit more. Wait, what?
It's
What?
better than Iron Man 1. Oh.
Not sure about Iron Man 2. Okay, all right. Well, to which his own. To which his own. But like this one of the things I've been worried about. One of the things I heard people complain about is that like when Jaime Reyes is in the suit, is that it turns into like a big old CGI fest again, and I don't really care about what's happening, and I have to disagree. I have to disagree. It did not feel like visual noise to me. And as far as the action set pieces, as I said, I thought they were very well done. And I'm especially impressed because this once again was supposed to be on streaming,
Mhm.
but like as far as the scenes, all the scenes with him in the suit, it looked really really good. I love the
Yeah.
suit. I love how it looks. I like the different weapons that he pulls out. I
The only
like
part I don't like of the suit is when he's looking through it, like the visor, like Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. Is the like this big
yeah
yellow? There's this big yellow thing that looked really cheesy. Like it didn't. It looked refined and high tech. It
yeah
looked
it's like
very. I think they could have done a few more passes on that visually to make it look more interesting. It just like was a yellow blur, and it's actually, um, uh, it wasn't that part wasn't working for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with that. They could have done like they probably were afraid to be being more derivative of Iron Man, but you're already doing it. You should just put like a holographic hub in his helmet or something.
Well, it
To,
seemed like blurry too at some points. It wasn't even crisp,
I mean, yeah, because they wanted to make the
like a
illusion
bug.
that and like the eyes, like the light is coming off of the eyes of the
I get
helmet.
that, but sometimes it's just better to give the viewer really crisp visuals. I know what you know what I mean. I understand why they did it.
Hmm.
Just like my criticisms of the Flash sequences. I understand when you're going high fast motion, things aren't going to be look super crisp and high def. But as a viewer, that's what I want to see. I mean, I guess that's subjective, but I want to see really good visuals and not blurry mess. You know,
Hmm. Yep. I think I'm getting the upper hand right now. Thank
I
you.
disagree.
but But yeah, I get what you're saying with that. But yeah, it's just it could have. I don't think it felt like visual noise when he was in the suit. I was able to follow everything that was going on, and I was actually invested in still in what was going on. And it didn't feel like when they do the big action set pieces, it didn't feel like it was just a whole bunch of chaotic stuff happening. It felt very focused for the most part. Um, Another thing that I really liked is the layer. I love the layer.
That's cool.
Is that neon layer like with comic book movies nowadays, like they're trying to be so grounded and realistic. They're afraid to have like these over the top like aesthetics. This kind of brought me back to the early 2000s. I know that's probably a bad sign for people like, oh, this feels like an early 2000s movie, but I feel like it does in like a good way. Like they're not afraid to like show like the comic booky nature of these characters. Like I go back to stuff like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, or like the first couple of Tim Burton Batman movies, or even like some aesthetics that reminded me a little bit of Batman Forever. I didn't hate Batman Forever. I thought it was okay. There were some aesthetics that I thought were kind of interesting. So it kind of brought me back to that. Like Lily, just seeing both like suits just like on display like that. Like I haven't seen anything like that in a while. I mean, we recently saw that with Michael Keaton's Batman and the Flash, which that also made me happy. But yeah, I just liked how I liked the neon aesthetic of this movie in general. You know, it just made it feel unique as far as like the other worlds that we got to see in the other DC movies.
Mhm.
And also as far as the weaponry that he has, I thought all the weapons in the lair was also really cool. One of my favorite stuff is the ship that they have. I think it's called the bug or something. I forgot it was called. But I thought that ship was really really cool
Why did his sister spray paint on the front? It was bugging me.
for the culture.
See, yeah, okay, I get that, I guess, but I'm like, I'd be so pissed if my sister did that.
Yeah, I'm sure Ted would have some words about that. But yeah,
And the bug farted, Joe. I don't know how. This is a guy that loves humor.
Oh yeah, gas attack.
I don't know how he missed that. That the bug was, that the bug vehicle was farting.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And then it branched out some legs, so it started walking, and then one of its legs like freaking killed a guy, like crushed it with one of its legs. I'm like, wow, that's really brutal. Very brutal for a comic movie. But I was liking all that. Liked all that. It kind of reminded me of some of Night Owl's stuff from Watchmen a little bit. So I kind of dig that. Let's see. I mean, what else is there? We talked about like the majority of it already. I mean, look, this is why I also appreciate that it's a very simple story. It's very straightforward. And once again, I didn't expect for this to be a super complicated movie. I don't think anybody expected this to be a super complicated movie, but it's like I like that, it's a pretty straightforward story that I think anybody could just go in and like be able to understand what's going on. Another thing, how did you feel about that? There was no bug.
You're a bug fart, Joe. I can't believe you missed that joke.
Yeah, like literally, like they literally made a joke right before they made the ship do it. Like it's like they even commented that it's a fart. So I don't know what you saw, man.
The gas attack. Yeah, the gas attack.
Gas attack, exactly.
This is so weird, Joe, that he's still adamant that it didn't happen.
Okay, Joe.
Stop it. Get some help.
But anyway, how did you feel about how Carapax like really sacrificed himself and like dragged?
I don't necessarily think that was earned based on his activities up until that point. This is a common trope in movies like this. They like all of a sudden they decide that the villain's gonna start to feel some sympathy and empathy. I don't know if it was earned. I'm not sure.
I feel like it was a little bit earned because I think the whole time. Well, I think it's like a couple of things.
I'm gonna ask my wife. You keep going.
Okay. I think it's a couple of things. For one thing, I like that that he was when he was confronting Jaime, that he was all about the care that you have for your family makes you weak. But then by the end of it, seeing how once again how tight of a unit his family is, and how their bond makes him stronger, he somehow got respect for that. And then also with the seeing the flashbacks of Carapax when he was a kid and his mother getting killed, and partially that's with Victoria being responsible for all of that, and then we're seeing how she actually manipulated Carapax this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was somewhat earned. Once again,
I just asked my wife
Mhm.
and she, to Joe's credit, she did not know about, but she didn't like the movie at all, and she was tuned out. So she might have just been like over the movie at that point with the gas attack. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what you're saying.
No, it's fine. Sorry, your wife didn't like it.
No, but she said she's. I'm like, she's like, what? But she really has no interest in this movie. She's I'm with superhero. That's my biggest gripe about this. If we want to get back to the debate, my wife said I am done with superhero movies after this movie. It's so derivative, so like everything else, so boring. I don't want to even see the Marvels. She's like, I'm done.
I mean, fair enough. I get like a lot of these superhero movies are starting to feel the same, but like to say that it's boring, I don't think this movie's boring at all. You know,
Okay.
I don't think there was really a slow moment in this movie. I just diversely don't understand it. I get like the stuff feels derivative and familiar, but it's like I think they handled the stuff that was derivative and familiar. I thought they handled it pretty well. Um, I don't know. I think once again, it's like one of my biggest rules when it comes to comic book movies and just movies in general. You know, the story can be derivative. There can be certain plot holes here and there, but like if the characters are strong enough where you're invested in what's going on and you are interested in seeing more from them, that's enough for me. Because I think the character dynamics are strong enough where it's like I enjoyed myself and like I was invested in what was going on with them. On top of that, I personally think this movie is exciting. I do
Okay.
think the stuff with the Blue Beetle suit is cool. I think the overall aesthetic of the movie is cool. And you said the score was forgettable?
For the most, there were some bright spots. For the most part, it just didn't seem to mesh well with what was happening with the story and the actors on screen. Every once in a while, there was some good stuff in there. I don't know. It just seemed like the editing and score together. It just everything seemed a little off. Where it could have actually been. Some movies come together in the editing and score. Look at Star Wars. People, the original Star Wars, people said that was a mess until Marsha Lucas, I think, helped fix it in editing and pacing, and I think a better editing, pacing, and score together could have made some of these jokes land better. And it's just, I don't know, something felt off to me. I do not like to hate movies. And I will give this another shot just because I like the character as soon as it comes to Max. But I'm not paying for it again. Even my A-list, I'm going to go see a different movie. Unless there's absolutely nothing else in the theater. I'm going to go see a different movie than see this again.
I mean, I've already seen it twice, and I already have a bunch of other movies that I need to see. So, I probably will wait for Max the next time I watch it. But, I'm glad I saw it those 2 times at least. I think we covered everything. Is there anything you want to mention before we talk about the mid-credit scene and all that?
I just didn't feel a lot for this movie, but I will give it another shot, and I hope the second go around I enjoy it more. I think there's my big concern is when I watch it again, I'll fast forward to the action scenes.
Oh,
And I do like to watch a movie all the way through, but I honestly think I just might fast forward to when he becomes Blue Beetle, and some of that stuff is really cool. There's some really cool moments in here. There are with the action and the special effects.
Damn. Well, I'm not gonna skip through the action stuff.
I mean, that's what I did to Ant-Man. The Ant-Man in the last Ant-Man Quantumania, when I rewatch it, I can't watch it from the whole start. I go to where he meets Kang,
Well, that's legitimately a bad movie. So that's understandable. But like, come on, man. Like for y'all saying that this is like on a similar level or something like that.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Like, come on now. There's some effort put into it. Like let's go now. Like
I'm very happy people like this. Very happy.
Like, let me get this on the record. Let me see how you feel about this. You thought the Flash was better than this?
The humor, the pacing, and everything, it was better until the end. I think the end probably was better with this than the Flash. The Flash, because the Flash doesn't even know what it wants to do at the end, because they don't know what they're gonna do with the, he didn't really fix the universe. There's still a different Batman, and I think this has a stronger ending. But overall, the Flash is a better movie with better special effects for the Blue Beetle. Like, the special effects drove me crazy in the Flash. But the Flash, the humor was on point for me personally. It all hit really good. Like, Ezra did a great, like, it's, like when Ezra's running around without his power, or without their power, and then he hits a wall, and then the scenes when he's with the other Barry with his roommates, and they're talking about Back to the Future and the tattoo, that was all really funny to me.
I get you, and I still really enjoy the Flash. So let me just put that out there. I'm not hating on the Flash. I do like it quite a bit, but it's just like, I just feel like, even though I like the Flash, I feel like it did feel unfocused in a couple of moments. Like, there's stuff that, like, I legitimately have a hard time defending to people. Like, the stuff that's bad, like the effects. I know people talk about it ad nauseum, how bad the effects are in moments, and it's like, I can't defend that. Or like how weird the tone is at times. I'm like, yeah, you're right about that. But at least with Blue Beetle, it felt like it was more sure of what it wanted to be, I guess. So I don't know. I probably have to.
I agree with that. Darn it, you're winning. I think it was more sure where it wanted to be and where it wanted to leave off. Yes.
You triggered my trap card!
But yeah, man, it's just, I don't know. I know I probably have to sit down and watch The Flash again when it's on Max, and then when the Blue Beetle's on Max, and I don't know. I probably have a different opinion about it, but like, I guess I will say The Flash, I guess, is more ambitious with what it's trying to do with its storytelling, but it feels, at least for me, Blue Beetle, it feels more coherent with what it's trying to do, even though it's playing it a lot safer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It depends on what your preference is, really. But okay, so we're gonna talk about the mid-credit scene, and then we're gonna start closing things out. So, mid-credit scene. They have two credit scenes. The one at the very end of the credits, you literally don't need to sit down for it. It's literally just the claymation commercial that they showed earlier in the movie.
That was awful.
That was, yeah. I'm like,
I told my wife, I heard this is stupid. We don't need to stay, because she was already like, I don't, and I'm like, she's like, no, we'll stay. We'll see what it is. I'm like, you're really not. It's gonna be dumb. I heard it's gonna be dumb. Whatever it is, Callie. And do not stay for the end credit scene. The mid credit scene, yes.
Yes, mid-credit scene, yes. There's one thing I kind of is irritating me with comic book movies and their credit scenes. They put like the pointless one at the very end, and they put the important one in the middle. It's like, people are waiting till the very end. So like, why don't you just put the important one at the very end and put the waste one in the middle? But anyway, Marvel does the same thing too, and that annoys me. But anyway, the mid-credit scene is we're back at Ted's lab. And then we get like a secret message on one of his computers. Like the system just automatically turns on, and then you hear this message saying that Ted Cord is alive. So, because for most of the movie, they thought that Ted Cord like disappeared and he probably died. There was no confirmation of where he was, so they assumed that he wasn't around anymore. But there's a hidden message saying that he's still alive, alluding to the possibility of Ted Cord being in the sequels that we may or may not get. Man,
yeah, that's intriguing. Now, I agree. This puts the character and wherever Blue Beetle's part of the DC universe is in way more focus than the Flash. Unfortunately, we still may not get a continuation here either. It depends on what happens with DC. It really doesn't even depend on what happens with Gunn. It's just like such a mess over there that even if Gunn wants to include it, who knows? But I like how focused and how much of a setup there was for a sequel. And unfortunately, that's the DC curse. You have a movie that you set up a payoff in a later film, and you might not get it.
Yeah.
Because I think the second movie would have been really good on this.
I think so too.
And I don't know if we're going to get just a Blue Beetle 2. I don't.
Yeah, let alone a Blue Beetle 3 because they wanted the trilogy. I don't even know if we'll get that, but I don't know. I pray that James, keeps the majority of what they set up here because, like, once again, I don't think there's anything here that he can't like work with, because he's already setting up a foundation for both versions. That they can have both versions running around in some way, shape, or form. But like, we'll just have to see how he handles it, I guess. But for what we have now, I had a good time. I liked it.
Mhm.
I'm glad we even got a Blue Beetle movie in the first place, and I'm glad that I enjoyed it as much as I did.
I will say it's got the best end credit sequence of any DCU film except Black Adam. But unfortunately, Black Adam's already was undone.
Honestly, yeah, I probably can agree with you. I
Yeah.
probably can agree with you on that. But yeah, so overall, I like Zolo as Jaime. I thought he was really, really good. So glad that my fan casting came true and he knocked it out of the park. I love the family dynamic. I think it's absolutely great. The sister, mother, grandmother, George Lopez. I thought all of them were great. Did they have their annoying moments here and there? Yes, but they were still very endearing, and I like the family unit that they overall had, and I'm glad that they played more of a part in the story instead of being damsels in distress for most of the film. I love Jenny Cord. I thought she was great. I love the chemistry that she has with Jaime. I'm bought into the romance. I really hope they keep her around too. The action is really, 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 really entertaining to watch. I think the effects look really, really good, even for like a streaming movie that it was originally supposed to be. The effects look pretty good. I like the suit. The suit is awesome, and I'm glad they actually put him in a practical suit instead of it just being 90% VFX. The villains, yeah, they were left a little bit to be desired, but I did see the potential of them being interesting. They did try a little bit, but it did end up still feeling like by the numbers. And does this movie feel derivative of other things? Yes. It does feel like Iron Man. It does feel like Ant-Man. It does feel like Venom. But, I still thought the way they executed it, I thought it was done really well. Oh, one thing we haven't talked about at all. Did you like the artificial intelligence with the Blue Beetle?
It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Though I think, okay, probably one little criticism before we start closing it out. One little criticism I would say, like, I wish they established the rules of the suit a little bit better. Like, what are the limits to that suit?
Mhm.
Like, of how much he can create and like how much damage he can take, like how much that the suit is able to protect him from harm, all that stuff. Like, because we know that like it infused in him and it's going to prevent him from dying and heal his body and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering how far does that really go? You
Yeah.
know? And I wish that we saw a little bit more conflict with with it being a symbiotic relationship. That's where we got the Venom influences there. I wish we
something
got a
that
little bit more from that.
Potentially, people might consider inconsistent with the suit is, well, the suit was like ready to kill people at first,
Yeah,
and then
it's the kill
later,
mode.
and then later on, the suit stops Jaime from doing harm to the villain. I think what happened is I think they kind of cover it in the story that the suit merged with Jaime's personality, whereas the beginning it was just taking over. And once they coexist, then it takes on some of the characteristics of that person.
Yeah, which I think
So
that's
even like the person's conscience or something.
right. Which I mean, because then it started. I think it's kind of like because the artificial intelligence started to speak Spanish too. So I think that there is some credence to that as well. So I wish that was something they dove into. I know that the artificial intelligence has a name. I just don't know the name right now. I'm sorry. I know they say it in the movie. I just don't remember at the moment. I apologize, but I know the artificial intelligence has a name. If anyone wants to comment in the chat, like if anybody knows the name of the artificial intelligence, that will help a lot. But okay. But anyway, overall, I will give Blue Beetle. I'll give it a solid B. I thought it was pretty good, man. I enjoyed it.
We're getting letter grades.
Yeah,
It's not an A,
figured that.
not a B. I wouldn't say it's a D. I would say a C.
Ooh.
C. Maybe C plus. C plus because of the visual effects.
Okay, all right.
I'll give it there because it has definitely some wins in there. For the visual effects, I'll give it a C plus.
All right. No, not like the actual like Beetle thing. Like there is an actual name that he calls her when they're already fused. Like we know the little thing's called the Scarab, but as far as like the name of the lady that's talking in his head, like they actually called her name. But yeah, y'all know what we're talking about anyway. So that was our spoiler discussion / civil dispute on Blue Beetle. It was kind of a debate, but it was more like a discussion with a little dispute here and there. So I thought it was going to be more heated than it actually ended up being.
No, I don't. I wish I cared more about this movie to really. No,
Maybe if you hated it, it probably would have been more. But
I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
I wish it got me more emotionally invested or cared more about it. I'll watch it a second time. Maybe it'll hit better when I watch it at my home. But it didn't grab me from the start, and I would say C plus is generous.
Generous.
Yes.
Generous. Oh
Yes.
wow. Okay. All right. This is a B movie. What you talking about? Anyway, those are our thoughts on Blue Beetle. Tell us, what did you guys think about it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? How does it compare to the other DCEU movies? Are you looking forward to this possibly being in the new DCU with James Gunn? Do you want it to be part of the DCU with James Gunn? Comment your thoughts down below and let us know. I want to thank Mad Max for doing another collab with me. It was fun.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Definitely sub to DL. He is a great content creator. He deserves everything he gets. He really goes deep in these movies. Thank you for helping me actually review it, because I'll count this as a review and I'll move on, because I was dreading reviewing it because I don't want to be down on movies, and I know people like this. I'm very happy so many of my friends like it. I'm happy you like it. Rhea's in the chat saying she was really impacted by this movie emotionally, and that's great. Joe loved it, so that will give me one of the movies that I didn't like in the theater and I loved at home was Wakanda Forever. I don't think I'm going to get that type of turnaround. The other movie I didn't like at first was The Suicide Squad by James Gunn, and then eventually I liked it. I just went with what it was going for. That's not exactly my type of humor. But then when I let go of all my expectations and just watched it as is, sometimes it's very refreshing. You let go of your expectations. Everyone has some expectations when you go into a film first. And then when you just rewatch it the second time, you know what's going to happen. You let all expectations go. And it's easier to just enjoy it, to me, the second, third time,
Right.
But maybe I'll have a turnaround on this. Right now, it just was off for me. But yeah.
Fair enough. Oh, thank you, Raya. The scarab's called Kajida. Okay, cool. Thank you. If you guys enjoyed this live stream, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Please hit that like button. And please subscribe to both channels. Subscribe to Movie Madness Entertainment if you haven't already. And subscribe to my channel, I Am DL. And don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified on future videos that either of us will be doing. Go check out Movie Madness Entertainment. I will be making some appearances on the stream as always.
And thank you and Joe and Rhea and Bruce for inspiring me to go see more movies if I'm going to be a content creator. And I think that's something that DL really does a great job with, is that you're like, even if I'm critical, I'm going to see these movies to give them a chance. And that's something I applaud by you. You, Joe, Rhea, Bruce, and others got me back to going to see movies at the theater to review them and being in the discussion. I'm like, man, DL's going to do another stream about this, and I would have talked to him about it. and that's part of the reason. So I applaud you, man. You get people to actually go to these movies if you're going to talk about them too, which is a great thing.
Thank you. I'm glad I could, impact people in like any way. I didn't even expect that really, but that does mean a lot to hear. But anyway, that is all we have for you Blue Beetle fans, and we will see you guys next time. Talk to you guys later. Batman's a fascist!